What's up, and welcome into another edition of Chopping It Up with Chaz. I have my man Jack Harris on once again to preview a Week 3 matchup between the Sun Devils and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. ASU heads out on the road for the first time this year. Jack, what do you think about ASU after you had 2 weeks to assess their performances?
Yeah, well, there's been some pleasant surprises, but the bigger problems have been the big issues, and that's, offensive line hasn't been very good so far this year. Special teams had its hiccups against San Diego State, and they haven't been able to stop the run very well. And while Manny Wilkins had a good start to the season, and they lead the nation, or one of the leaders of the nation in sacks right now, it's those big issues I just mentioned that they're going to have to clean up to improve their results moving forward.
They're going up against a Texas Tech team that loves to throw it through the air. They love those deep passes down the sideline. How do you think this ASU defense is going to hold up against that attack?
That's a really good question because, we've mentioned before how this ASU secondary has 4 new starters back there, and they haven't really been tested so far this season by New Mexico State or by San Diego State. But they're going to get tested this week. Texas Tech loves to throw the football. Nick Shimonek's their new quarterback, a transfer from Iowa, stepping in there as a senior. He's going to air it out. He was very good in their first game against Eastern Washington. He completed his first 14 passes that day back in week 1. So we're going to find out just how legit Joey Bryan is, just how legit Kobe Williams is. I think the good news is for ASU, Texas Tech doesn't run the ball very well, so their safeties aren't going to have to worry so much about getting up near the line of scrimmage and stopping the run. They'll be able to step back, pass protect a little bit more, help those corners out and not put them in those man-on-man situations. But we'll find out. I think Bryan and Williams have shown some promise so far this year. They both have interceptions, and that's a big key this week. If they can get some picks, if they can get some game-changing plays, that could be huge even if they give up some yards.
It's Thursday, so let's do a little bit of a throwback Thursday. Last year, ASU put up 68 points. I mean, that's like a Madden performance for the team. Do you think they can live up to that 68-point performance this week?
That game was a lot like a Madden game. You had Kalen Ballage scoring 8 touchdowns that day. I don't think that's going to happen again. We talked about the offensive line struggles, the running, the football struggles, but I think the offense is going to be pretty good, mainly because they're going up against the Texas Tech defense, last in the nation in total defense a season ago and last in scoring defense. So they have their own struggles to worry about. They only have 4 returning starters from the squad from last year, and Manny Wilkins has been good to start the season. If he can get some time from that offensive line, figure out where his receivers are going, find the holes in that Texas Tech defense, I think he could be very effective and have a career day. I think they'll run the football a little bit better too. It's hard to see them running it any worse than they have in the first couple of weeks this season. So I think there's a lot of reasons that they can score 40 or 50 points this week and give themselves a legitimate chance to win the game.
I know ASU going into this game is working on a little bit of everything, but if you had to pick one thing that they really need to key in on this week, what would that be?
Well, this week, it's all about how can we help out the secondary. How can we give them a little bit more cover? You don't want them playing man-on-man coverage a lot. You don't want to be putting those corners on islands and them being the only guy to try to cover receivers. That's going to be tough. But another thing they can work on this week is their rush defense, because that's going to be a really big key moving into Pac-12 play. After this, you got Royce Freeman in Oregon coming into Tempe in 2 weeks' time. He's one of the best running backs in the country. You get a little bit of a test this week against the Texas Tech team that doesn't run the ball very effectively. You got to be able to show improvement there, show that we can make teams one-dimensional, and then we can help out our young and inexperienced secondary.
I'm always the one that advocates, let's pump the brakes, let's slow down a little bit. But how important is this week going forward for this team? I mean, they open up in a really tough conference schedule.
Yeah, that tough conference schedule you mentioned, it's Oregon, Stanford, and Washington and USC right out of the gate. So this game is huge. If you lose this game, it's tough for me to see them winning any of those first 4 or 5 Pac-12 games. And then you're talking about starting the season 1-6, 1-7, being out of bowl contention by mid-October. That's not where this team wants to be, and it's not where it should be. If you can win this game, I think there's still a route for them to maybe upset a couple teams, finish the season strong against the easy part of their schedule, and still get to 6 wins, get back to a bowl game. But if they lose this week, I have a tough time seeing them getting anywhere near that 6-win mark. It's just going to put a lot of negativity around the program going into, again, the toughest part of their schedule.
Yeah, you have to think that this team is going to go in extra focused this week,
Yeah, it would definitely. And going on the road will be a big key as well. They haven't done that yet this season. They didn't do it incredibly well last year. You think back even to their non-conference away game at UTSA, where they came out a little slow. It was a tough game for them to beat a Group of 5 team that day. Yeah. Now they're playing a Power 5 team in Texas Tech. So, yeah, the focus is going to have to be there. I think it will be. Nobody was happy about that loss to San Diego State last week. So I think you can look for a much sharper performance in Lubbock this Saturday.
It's only week 3, but the Sun Devils have a lot to focus on this week as they head out for their first road performance against the Red Raiders in Lubbock, Texas. Our very own Jack Harris will be there on the field to give you all the coverage. Until then, we'll see you guys next time.